Magandang umaga, Malacanang Press Corps. Welcome sa ating press briefing ngayong araw, February 13th. In today's sectoral meeting, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. directed the Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, to continue streamlining the country's drug regulatory processes with the aim of lowering the prices of true generic drugs and speeding up the process of registering new common drugs. On veterinary vaccines, President Marcos directed the FDA and the Department of Agriculture to address the issues of work delegation in order to approve the necessary drugs for avian and African swine flu. President Marcos stressed the urgency of veterinary vaccines as this may affect our country's agriculture and nutrition needs. The president also encouraged the establishment of a pharma zone to make the drug application process more accessible and efficient, like a one-stop shop, and directed the said agencies to focus on amending the Administrative Order 67 from 1989 to look into allowing foreign common drugs to come in. Again, with the intention of bringing prices down for all Filipinos. And to tell us more about this, we have with us today Director General Samuel Zacate and Director Jesusa Joyce Sirunay of the Food and Drug Administration. Good morning.
Good morning to all our friends in the media and sa mga nakikinig po sa atin, sa mga sambayan ng Pilipino. I'd like to confirm that the President has directed the Food and Drug Administration to further streamline the drug application process in the Philippines and to provide further drug accessibility for all the Filipinos. And in the future, the cheaper medicine for us to be accessible also to the Filipino people. As of now, in the FDA, we already had formulated several policies para po makatulong sa ating mga stakeholders. And one of that is the Bible of the drug application process, which is the Administrative Order number 67. It will pave the way for the application per category so that the stakeholders, the local drug manufacturers and the drug importers will have the proper way of how to register their products. Furthermore, we are already having the policies to lengthen the validation or the validity of the license to operate and the certificate of product registration from the initial 3 years to 5 years renewal. And now it will be increased to 5 years initial and 10 years renewal. It will help further the stakeholders to the stakeholders for the drug to further their business interests and to strengthen the drug accessibility in the country. Another is that we are doing the revision of fees for us to be capacitated so that our laboratory and testing abilities will be further and be at par with the other international regulation. Another is that we tackled in a sectoral meeting the possibility or the establishment of the pharma zones. So ano po ang importansya po nito? It will give a more drug accessible to those selected 3 pharma zones by the PEZA. So it will have a role, the FDA will have a role so that pagpasok po ng isang gamot, diretso testing, diretso registration, para po magkaroon po ng mabilis at malaki ang lawak ng coverage. Especially those essential medicines like for example the generic drug and the antibiotics that has been approved by the stringent regulatory authority of the different countries. Aside from that, I would like also to confirm that we already talked with the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, Secretary Laurel, that we will have the JAO, the Joint Administrative Order, so that the veterinary vaccines, no, kung alam nyo po kasi it has greatly affected the meat industry, the supply of the meat industry in the country, especially the pork. So one of the solution of that is that we give the Filipino people, the stakeholder for the veterinary, yung mga agricultures natin, the vaccine, the technology to stop the proliferation of the ASF and also the avian flu. To another projects that the FDA is being entailed is the full digitalization so that the agency will have more application process on time. So we already have talks with the DICT and also the ARTA, the Anti-Rate Authority, to have established the one-stop shop. It will help greatly the stakeholders of drug pharmaceutical industry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You can open the floor to questions. Ulat Bayan, Radio Pilipinas.
Doctor, can we get an update lang po doon sa binabanggit nyo kanina na ESF vaccine from Vietnam po? Nakapag-issue na po kaya tayo ng Certificate of Product Registration?
As to the ESF vaccine for the Vietnam, it is more detailed, can be explained by my director for the Center for Drug and Research.
Good morning, everyone. Hindi pa po. We are waiting for the applications to come in. Thank you.
And then, ma'am, kapag nasubmit na po nila yung application, how soon po kaya tayo makapag-issue ng CPR?
We do have a timeline with ARTA. It's 120 working days. So it depends on the completeness of their documents for us to issue a positive approval. Thank you.
Maricel Halili, TV5.
Hi, ma'am. Good morning. Just to follow up on Raquel's question, but what's your target? How soon can we have avian flu vaccine?
Basically, the avian flu vaccine, I already launched a task force Electrion. It is composed of different experts. It will focus on the. Are we talking about the ASF or the avian flu?
Avian and ASF.
Avian. I already established a 2 task force for that. Number 1 for the ASF, I have established a task force MOCUS. And for the avian flu, I established a task force Electrion. So those two are composed of different experts that will solely focus on the matter with regard to the ASF, African swine flu, and avian flu. So we cannot act if there is no applicant. So for the ASF, we have the applicant for as of this date, but I think the avian flu, we have 3. Please confirm it.
Thank you very much, DG. We are waiting for them to fully submit the documents that will lead to an registration application, but there are 3 possible candidates that we know of. Thank you.
So can we say that we can have both avian flu and African swine flu vaccine probably before mid this year?
They have to apply first.
Ba't di sila nag-a-apply?
Well, it depends on them. Actually, we cannot act if there is no applicants. We wait for the application, and then if there is applicant, we process them. So the FDA cannot act if there is no applicant.
Okay, Katrina Halili. Sorry.
But unfortunately, we cannot give yet the details of these possible 3 applicants.
Okay.
Those 3, just according to the intel, yun yung pag-google namin. So basically, ano lang namin po yun, kung ano yung possible candidate. Pero we cannot act pagka hindi sila talaga nag-apply. One application talaga sila. So basically, that's more on intel side. Yeah. Kasi syempre po naghahanap-hanap din po kami ng possible kasi proactive means namin sa FDA kasi gusto namin tulungan yung bayan. Pero at least hindi pa makakapag-act if they will not apply.
Okay, Maris Umali. Microphone, please.
Good morning. Sir, just a clarification. So, it is just based on your intel, meaning they have not expressed their intent to actually apply for registration for those vaccines?
For us to give you the details, they have to lodge the application. So if they do not lodge the application, and for it to be part of the registration, we cannot say that we are in process of such an application.
So Sir Zacate, the one you mentioned that there are 3, or ma'am?
Possible 3.
Possible 3. It's just based on your intel. You are just searching for possible vaccines.
Yeah, because
that
we have
can enter.
we have also connections with different FDA in the so some of them I think they register in some countries, but in the Philippines they must apply to us also.
There is no possibility that we ask from them because there's a need for us to get those vaccines for the avian situation and the ASF situation in our country. So we really need to wait for them, and we cannot tap them and ask for the vaccines for them to actually register.
We release media announcements encouraging all possible importers to apply for these veterinary vaccines. So we have been encouraging them. And DG Sakati have already mentioned that we establish a TF for us to be ready once they will apply for a registration.
Okay, sir.
To clarify, we cannot proactively tell them to apply into our country because we have a zero contact policy. So we are regulators. So what we can do is to ask some regulators outside the country, the foreign FDAs, kung ano po yung mga status ng mga applications sa kanila. So that if they tend to apply, at least alam na namin na may possibility sila. Pero ibig sabihin po, we cannot tell them, the company, go ahead, apply here because it will be a conflict of interest for the FDA.
But when you mentioned a while ago that you have been in coordination with the Department of Agriculture, can Department of Agriculture actually ask them to apply, to register?
I cannot speak in behalf of the DA, but I can tell
I
you that
mean, did you ask DA a while ago when you had coordination with them?
with regards to the talks with the DA, we will have a formal talks next week for the JAO. So for as of now, I cannot speak in behalf of them. I can speak only in behalf of the FDA.
Sir, so last. So in other words, wala kahit isa. For avian and ASF, wala pa.
Thank you. For sa current namin database, wala kaming currently ina-evaluate na avian flu or the ASF. That's why we are encouraging kasi wala kaming ina-evaluate sa ngayon at this point in time.
What is the difference between encouraging and asking them to apply when you mentioned there's no contact policy that you're actually implementing?
The FDA cannot be can have a program so that we can encourage, okay, meron palang ginagawa ang task force ng FDA, mukhang nakafocus sila dito. So we can encourage the stakeholder to apply. But we cannot tell them, apply kayo rito directly. So it is a proactive means for the FDA that we are addressing the problem of the country by forming this task force. This task force will concentrate because it is a pressing matter for the country. But we cannot tell them, apply, then we will help you. We're just telling that we are focusing on the pressing matter issue of the country. And it's up to them to apply.
Okay.
Again, this has been identified by the President as an important matter that needs to be addressed because it may affect our agriculture, our protein supply, that's nutrition for all Filipinos. So if that helps, that it came from the President, maybe it's an encouragement for others to apply here for the African swine flu and the avian flu. Go ahead, Eden.
So regarding po dun sa pagpapahaba ng validity ng renewal and yung permit po ba sa mga manufacturers, kailan po natin ini-expect na magkakaroon ng epekto ito sa presyo ng mga gamot sa ating bansa? Yun talagang mapapababa po.
Okay. Number one, i-clarify ko the lengthening of the CPRs and the LTO, not only in the drug, but also in the food, no, and also the device, no. Hindi kasi namin pwedeng gawin sa cosmetic kasi maraming variations yung ating mga stakeholders. But yeah, basically it will help a lot, no, because they will have an assurance that their product, no, will be there for 5 years to 10 years. No, so subject only for the post-marketing surveillance because the FDA cannot they dwell upon the mandate of protecting or safeguarding the health of our country.
So kailan po natin expect na magkakaroon ng epekto sa presyo po ng mga gamot at pagkain?
As of now, the two policies, the administrative order for the unified licensing and the revision of fee for increasing the CPR validity will be transmitted to the Department of Health because it is an administrative order. So after transmitting to the Department of Health, it will be signed by the Secretary, it will go back to us, then we will have implementing rules and regulation to that. So basically, a matter of 6 months, it will have.
additional question lang po. About drugs pa rin naman po ito, no? Can you enlighten us about the fentanyl? Ang FDA, meron ba kayong ano dito?
Regarding fentanyl, I think Director Joyce, no, if there is an application or the registration.
Fentanyl is a registered product, but for the details, I cannot give. We have to give it to. You can email to FDA for the details, or you can check the verification portal of FDA for fentanyl products registered with FDA.
Basically, the answer is yes, it has a registration, but depending on the mode of application, the patch.
Yes, I'm not very familiar with all the products registered with FDA, so I would propose to go to the verification portal to get the products that are registered under the generic name fentanyl. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Harley Valbuena, behind you.
Good morning po. Sir, ma'am, balik lang ako dun sa vaccines. How about from our local manufacturers and scientists? Do we believe that they have the capability to develop the potential vaccines against ASF and avian flu? And are we even keen on offering a reward or a reward system for any local scientist or manufacturer that can develop the vaccine?
Thank you. We are not aware of a drug development for veterinary products currently done in the Philippines. For the reward, it is not within the ambit of FDA. Thank you.
Okay, Jean Mangalus, Inquirer.net.
Hi po. Can you please explain what happens if prolonged na walang ASF and avian flu vaccine sa bansa? What are the possible dangers or consequences?
Well, basically, it has been happening even before the administration, the current administration. Of course, the food security, yung meat possibility, the problem with our stakeholders. So basically, I can only speak in behalf of the FDA that we are doing something for so that the vaccine will come in the country. But on all other matters, I think there are other departments that can answer your question.
Short follow-up. Sinong agency po dapat yung nag-invite directly sa mga sa manufacturers?
There's no official invitation process, but a lot of these things get discussed during foreign trips, bilateral talks, minister-to-minister meetings. So, yeah, that's all I could say for now. Also, you're asking about the impact, the possible impact of avian flu and ASF. In a little while after this briefing, we will have the Department of Agriculture on El Nino, but you can ask that later. Okay? Okay. Katrina Domingo.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, a while ago you mentioned that the president has ordered you to speed up the process of approving new generic drugs to further streamline the drug application process. How many requirements used to be asked from these applicants, and how many requirements na lang po yung needed for you to speed up that process?
I'm glad that you asked that question because we are already doing the speeding up the process. As of now, we are on the verge of I'm on the verge of signing the memorandum circular for the facilitation of FRP for generic drug. It means it will shorten the 120 days to 45 days. So it is a matter of time that I will sign that. So mas mapapadali yung proseso, mas mapapabilis at maikli na lang po yung oras. Because the FDA has two types of regulation. Number one is the full review, and number two is the recognition and reliance. The generic drug, as long that they have been labeled as generic, wala na silang patent issue, at approved naman po sila, it has been in the market from their originating country. And yung originating country naman niya is strict regulatory agency. Pagpasok po nyo sa bansa, in-import po sa atin sa bansa, no, it will be subject only to 45 days.
Follow-up question. Sir, take for example, according to the ARTA, the application for, let's say, telcos, they whittled down the number of documents required from 13 to 8, from 86 to 35. Do you have that kind of figure with regard to the approval of with the FDA. Yes, sir.
With regard to the generic drug
Yes,
only,
sir.
I think Director Joyce will answer your question.
We do not reduce the number of requirements, but we use reliance. Example is that if it comes from, say, the US FDA or PMDA, titingnan natin yung ini-evaluate nila, yung mismong papel na ginamit nila. Yun ang titingnan natin. Pag it has satisfactorily complied with the requirements of the ASEAN Common Technical Documents, hindi na namin uulitin. Kasi magre-rely kami sa isang stringent regulatory authority. Walang ni-reduce na requirements because the safety, efficacy, and quality requirement is fixed. It's in the ASEAN Common Technical Documents, ASEAN Common Technical Requirements. Titingnan namin yung ginamit ni Japan, example, paano nila in-evaluate. If it has already satisfactorily complied, then we will use reliance in approving that particular application. Just like the US FDA, but we have to see the evaluation of the stringent regulatory authority.
Tuesday New, DZBB.
Hi, sir. Hi, ma'am. Ma'am, if I remember it right, sir, October last year, sinabi po ni Presidente na sinisimulan na ng pamahalaan yung pagbili ng avian flu vaccine. Hindi ko alam kung FDA o DA ang dapat sumagot, sir, pero whatever happened to that plan po?
I don't think that avian yon, and we cannot procure. We are only regulators. We give certificate of product registration. So regarding if we were talking about procurement, it's not FDA.
Alright.
Basically, bawal po sa amin yan.
Okay. Another thing, sir, itong pharma zone, paano po ito magiging set up at saan po ilalagay na parte ng bansa itong pharma zone?
Basically, there is one, no, according to the sectoral meeting, is napakaganda po ng proyekto ng ating presidente kasi kung tatlo po yan, no, it will give a more influx of essential and generic drug. As of now, there are 3 main. But yung isa is, I think, the new Clark. But the 2 has yet to be determined by the PESA itself. Kasi hindi naman po pwede makapag-determine yung FDA. We're just there to, to streamline the process. Yeah.
Okay. Christine Maralit, Manila Times.
Hi ma'am, hi sir. On a separate issue po, recently po ang daming nag-proliferate na mga products online and mga ginagamit pong endorsers or taga-benta, influencers, celebrities, and iba't ibang claims po yung ginagawa. Pero hindi po iilan ang mga nagre-reklamo regarding their negative side effects, even though they claim to be FDA approved and registered. Ano po ang hakbang na ginagawa ng FDA dito? May mga ahensya po ba tayong nakakatulong to address this issue?
Basically, the approval of the FDA, yun lang po ang safe, efficient, and quality. So for example, if a product has been approved for a certain indication, doon lang po makakagarantiya yung ating mga mamamayan na ito po ay nagdaan sa proseso ng FDA, particularly in drug. Now, regarding sa fake advertisement, we have been coordinating with the National Bureau of Investigation and some celebrities, I don't want to mention them, but we have been coordinating them since last year. So, ang problem lang kasi po dito sa mga online, ulitin ko po, since the last interview, when they post, they can always take down the post. So, if we seize the product, if we give a subpoena, or give a summon to those fake advertisers, we need a certain location. Kinakailangan namin ma-serve yung notice sa kanila. And ang problema doon, karamihan po dyan mga wala naman pong opisina. Kasi nga po, peke di ba? So, nahihirapan po kami, kaya namin tinap ang National Bureau of Investigation to locate those people. Pero sabi nga po namin, mas palansa pa po sa isda yan. Pagka nakita nila ini-interrogate sila or ni-investigate sila, they just take down the post. Then they will move and they create another account. So, yeah, we're finding it very difficult. But for this year, we will have a task force, is a conglomerate of different enforcement agency. Last year, I launched Oplan Kataros. That's for the counterfeit medicine. So this one, I think it's very, it's a very problematic, fake advertisement. So I will launch a task force together with the number one, the NBI, the PNPCIDG, the NICA, and the Patent Office, the IPO, so that we will have one unitary enforcement agency. So maybe soon, maybe later this year.
Thank you. Alan Francisco, PTV4.
Hi po. Sir, for so long, there has been a comparison between branded and generic medicines. Kamusta na sir ngayon yung pananaw o pagtanggap ng mga Pilipino sa generics?
Basically, when we talk about the branded and the generic, when we say generic, it's the generic name of the drug. No, it's a generic. For example, one drug, babaguhin yung brand. But yan po ay nagdaan lahat sa proseso ng FDA. We call it, we test the bioavailability of the drug. When it passed the FDA, pantay-pantay po lahat yan. So basically, wala pong tinatawag na generic lang yan. Branded yan. Pantay-pantay po lahat yan. Basta po, nagdaan sa masusi, proseso, at testing ng Food and Drug Administration. Makakagarantiya po ang ating mga taong bayan ng iyong gamot ay ligtas, mabisa, at makakagamot ng inyong mga sakit.
Maricel Halili, TV5.
Sir, on other issue about marijuana, usap-usapan kasi yung legalization of medical cannabis, but then some medical associations under PMA are against the legalization of this and legislation of medical marijuana. May we know your take on this, sir?
Basically, the law on marijuana is subject to the wisdom of the legislative. No, hindi ko kaya silang pangunahan kasi sila po ang mga ano diyan, sila po ang mga number one na magpapasa ng batas. But my take is medicine is an innovation. No, we cannot guarantee na ito lang po tayo at darating sa future wala na, hanggang dito na lang. Like take for example, penicillin, it came from fungi. And now, ang dami na pong nagagamot na sugat at mga antibiotics na nga po siya. So, my take on marijuana is that I am open. No? Basically, the Filipinos must have a wide range of therapeutic indication or therapeutic drug of choice. So, ako po ay for the record, the Food and Drug Administration and me, as the Director General, is very much open for the marijuana as long that it has been streamlined, no? At hindi naman po makakasama po sa ating mga taong bayan.
Okay, last few questions. Jean Mangaluz again, Inquirer.net.
Hi po. Can you please give us an update on how many COVID-19 drugs, not vaccines, have been approved by the FDA, and is it out in the Philippine market?
Thank you. Yes, the approval process is the same with the rest. Initially, these were emergency use authorization. And then there was a creation of a task force. The task force, both for medicines and vaccines, for the conversion of the EUA products, medicines and vaccines, to normal CPR. So there are already COVID medicines available in the Philippines. And also, we are encouraging, because it's continuously developing with the variants available, for the manufacturers and their importers here to also apply the other variants, the other vaccines, through the product registration process of the Food and Drug Administration.
In addition to that, the EUA that was previously issued by the FDA relied mostly on the public health emergency. So since it was lifted, the EUA, the emergency use authorization, has no effect already. So that's why as a proactive means, again, I launched many task force. No, Task Force Edward is for the COVID drug. So that the applicants, the stakeholder, will give the image that, oh, the FDA is doing something. Because it is a pressing matter. COVID is a pandemic. So, yun po. As of now, wala pa po tayo na-approve, but my people are currently focusing on that matter.
Okay. I think we're done with the questions. Thank you so much, Director General Zacate and Director Sirunay of the FDA. And maraming salamat, Malacanang Press Corps, and I'll see you in a little while for our next briefing. Thank you.